have to mute it because people get really tired of you. When you're successful and you're happy and stuff like that.
Most people believe they already understand Jim Carrey. The rubber face, the wild energy, the man who could make an entire room laugh without saying a single word. But before we go deeper, take a second to like, share, and subscribe. Because this isn't just another celebrity story. This is something far more layered, something that might completely change how you see him. In the 1990s, Jim Carrey wasn't just famous, he was unstoppable. In a single year, he delivered Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. 3 massive hits that didn't just dominate the box office, they redefined comedy itself. It felt like he wasn't just acting, he was bending reality. His body moved in ways that didn't feel human, his expressions were beyond control, and his presence was so loud that it became impossible to ignore him. But behind all that noise, there was silence. Because the story most people celebrate isn't the full story. Jim Carrey didn't come from comfort, he came from instability. His father, Percy, gave up his dreams to support the family, only to lose his job when Jim was still a child. And just like that, everything collapsed. The family went from a normal life to living in a van and eventually in a tent. This wasn't temporary, this was survival. As a teenager, Jim worked overnight shifts in a factory, then went to school the next morning. While other kids were figuring out what they wanted to become, he was already carrying responsibility that most adults struggle with. And inside his home, things weren't any easier. His mother battled severe emotional struggles, and Jim did everything he could to make her laugh, to pull her out of that darkness, even if just for a moment. And that's where something important begins. Jim Carrey didn't just learn comedy, he learned emotional escape. Because when you build your identity around making others feel better, you slowly stop asking how you feel. He dropped out of school at 16 and pursued stand-up comedy. At first, it didn't work. He bombed. Audiences didn't laugh. Some nights they didn't even react. But he kept going. He believed in something no one else could see yet. He even wrote himself a check for $10 million and kept it in his wallet as a reminder of where he was going. And eventually, he got there. Hollywood embraced him, then celebrated him, then turned him into a phenomenon. But here's where things start to shift. Because when you finally reach everything you thought you wanted, you expect to feel complete. And sometimes you don't. This is where Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock become important. Not because they attacked Jim Carrey, but because they noticed something deeper. Dave Chappelle once shared a story about visiting a film set, excited to meet one of his idols. But when he got there, he didn't meet Jim Carrey. He met a character. Completely. No switch, no break, just someone fully committed to being someone else, even when the cameras weren't rolling. Now, method acting isn't unusual, but what made this different was how far it went. The line between performance and reality seemed to disappear. And for Chappelle, it wasn't impressive, it was unsettling. Because he didn't feel like he was meeting a person, he felt like he was interacting with a performance. And that raises a bigger question. At what point does acting stop being a role and start becoming an escape? On the other side, Chris Rock had a completely different but equally powerful observation. He openly said he didn't want to follow Jim Carrey's career path. And that wasn't a casual comment, it was intentional. Chris Rock believed that if your audience comes to see you for one thing, laughter, and you suddenly shift into something else, you risk losing that connection. Not because growth is wrong, but because identity matters. Jim Carrey wasn't just changing genres, he was redefining who he was. And that creates tension, because there are 2 versions of him, the one the world fell in love with, and the one he was trying to become. And when those 2 versions don't align, people start to feel it. His personal life reflected that complexity as well. Relationships came and went, emotional highs were followed by deep lows, and over time, his perspective on life started shifting in ways that confused the public. He began speaking about identity as if it wasn't real, about the idea that Jim Carrey itself was just a character, that the person people admired wasn't truly him, just a version created for the world. Think about that for a second. If someone no longer sees themselves as a fixed identity, what are they becoming? In interviews, he appeared different, sometimes deeply philosophical, sometimes detached, sometimes almost distant from everything around him. And people didn't know how to react. Some people called it wisdom, others called it strange, but very few stopped to consider what it might actually feel like to be in that position. To spend decades being watched, analyzed, expected to deliver a certain version of yourself, and then suddenly realizing that version doesn't feel real anymore. That realization can be freeing, but it can also be isolating, because the moment you stop being what people expect, they stop recognizing you. And maybe that's why reactions to Jim Carrey started changing over time. Not because he became someone else, but because he stopped pretending to be who he used to be. There's also something interesting about how he chose to step away. He didn't disappear dramatically. He didn't make a big announcement and completely cut himself off. Instead, he slowly reduced his presence. Fewer roles, fewer appearances, less noise. It wasn't a break, it was a shift. And in that shift, he found something different. Painting, art, not performance, not applause, not validation, just expression. He once described painting as something that doesn't require him to be anyone for anyone else. Think about how powerful that is. For someone who spent their entire life performing for an audience, finally finding something that doesn't need an audience at all. That's not just a hobby, that's an escape. Or maybe even a return. And yet, even after stepping away, the questions never fully stopped. Because the public doesn't just follow success, it follows change. And when someone changes in a way that isn't easy to explain, people start searching for answers. Sometimes logical ones, sometimes not. That's why conversations around Jim Carrey often feel divided. Some people see a man who evolved. Others see someone who lost direction. Some see enlightenment. Others see instability. But the truth is, it might be a combination of all of it, because human beings aren't simple, and neither are their journeys. Jim Carrey's story isn't just about fame or success. It's about identity. About what happens when the version of yourself that the world loves isn't the version you feel connected to anymore. And that's something far more relatable than most people realize, because in smaller ways, everyone experiences it. The difference is, most people don't have millions of eyes watching them go through it. Most people aren't expected to maintain a persona for decades. Most people are allowed to change quietly. He wasn't. And maybe that's why his transformation feels so intense, because it's happening in public, unfiltered, uncontrolled, and sometimes misunderstood. At the end of all this, one thing becomes clear. Jim Carrey didn't just build a career on being impossible to ignore. He built it on becoming whatever the world needed him to be. And now, he might be finally choosing not to be anything at all. No expectations, no performance, no mask, just existence. And maybe that's the most difficult role he's ever had to play. Or maybe it's the first time he isn't playing one. So again, the question is yours. Was Jim Carrey misunderstood, or did people only love him, the version that entertained them?